Hello, everybody. Welcome to our bonus part 2 guest presenter with Jennifer Nelson Hawks and Sarah Felton. They will be joining us momentarily, so grab yourself a glass of water, a cup of tea, and get ready for an awesome call on modern day biohacking and gut health.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see you in person.
Finally. Finally. I was really disappointed not to make the call yesterday, but it just wasn't going to work out.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. It just happens sometimes. Were you able to listen to the recording yet?
I got most of it. I was listening it right before I was going to come listen to here, and so I didn't get the last, I think about 20 minutes left. So
okay, because that last 20 minutes I definitely answered your questions more in detail. So heads up. Well, welcome. I think these guys they just texted me, so I know all good. I know they are hopping on. I have been having internet issues, but you can see me and hear me, right?
Yep.
Like
yes,
we're good?
I can see you in here. Yep.
This is very exciting. I was like, I'm going to have to turn off my camera and not see you guys, but I think maybe we can pull this off. Well, good. Tell me how you're doing. Let's just use this time really quickly before these guys hop on. Oh, never mind. They just hopped on.
Okay. Never mind.
Never mind. But feel free to shoot me more of a message, or I know that we not connected, I'm not sure, but feel free to shoot me more of a message, or for sure, hopefully we'll catch you on my next call. But I would love to connect with you a little bit more if you need any more support.
Yes, no, thank you. Thanks.
Yay. Good to see you. Yeah. Hello, ladies. Sarah and Jen, oh, no. That's left. Funny. They just left, isn't it? No, we're having a hard time joining. You were in and then just left. Try. Let's see. Technology is so awesome. And can you hear me? Hello, ladies.
We're working on it.
There we go.
You can hear us.
We see you now, and we hear you.
Yep.
Can you hear us okay?
Oh, good. Here we go. We're set. Wow.
It's so funny watching people with technical things and then, it's all working. Yay. Thank you.
Mode.
And my internet is working, which I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to turn off the camera, but no, it's all aligning. The stars are aligning for you to be here. So thank you. You guys, this is Christy, one of the participants in our group coaching program. She wasn't on our last call. So I'm super excited you're here, Christy.
Nice to meet you.
And
Hi,
I know
nice
there's
to
a
meet
couple
you too.
more people. Yeah, I know there's a couple more people trying to join, and of course lots of people listen to the recording. So thank you. This was such an amazing call last time. Everyone loved you guys, and of course I know why, because I love you too. And and we wanted to go over all of the modern day biohacking tools that you guys have at Simply Health and your integrative healing facility. And I think we got through 4 or 5 out of, I don't know, you guys have way more than we'll probably get through today, but we wanted to go over a few more, and I will I'll do a refresher of what we did go over last time. And then Jen and Sarah are going to dive a little bit more into gut health. And so Christy, at the end of this call, or if anyone else hops on, you'll have some time to ask some specific questions to these amazing practitioners at the end. How does that sound?
Great. Sounds good.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay. Perfect. So I'm not going to read the long bio of both of these because they Sarah and Sarah are very well accomplished, but they're both the co-owners of Simply Health, which is an integrative healing, amazing clinic in Jackson Hole. Jen is a board certified holistic health practitioner, certified medical assistant, certified iridologist, certified personal health coach. Sarah is a certified clinical thermographer. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, which I think is really cool around this work as well. So thank you guys both for joining, and let's just dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay. So last, was it a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, when we discussed this, I just want to recap in case anyone hasn't listened to that, if you didn't go back, but we talked about the importance of supplements and how important it is to buy that from the actual company or like a health, a practitioner that you know, like is in integrity, right? And that a lot of, this is just important to recall because I didn't even know this, a lot of supplements online are, they're fake. They can put dirt in it, you said, and like put a false label and sell it. So like, especially on Amazon and stuff, you really have to be careful. We also talked about what is modern day biohacking, these amazing technology tools that are used to help facilitate the healing process, the regeneration, the detoxification process. And we discussed some of the modalities they have at Simply Health, which was the HOCAT. We talked about the biocharger. We talked about, did we talk about the IASS? We didn't. No, I don't think so. No, we talked about the thermography. We talked about the Asira. I believe those are the 5 modern day biohacking kind of tools that we discussed. And then we just touched on the fact that gut health, there's a lot to gut health, right? And these guys have been studying this amazing method of supporting our gut health through probiotics, through spores. I'm going to let them describe it better than I am right now, but it's really individualized for each type of condition that you have. It's not about just hitting your body with like a broad spectrum, high quality probiotic. It's really individualized. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. I think there's a little delay, so sorry.
Do you want us to go ahead and just
let's start off?
You
yes.
bet.
Yeah.
So we have amazing technologies, and like Jenny just said, you know, we are trying to biohack the body in the modern day world, and that is really because there are so many conditions and I mean organisms. We're being presented with so many environmental, food, stress, toxins that weren't around even 5 or 10 years ago. And so with Simply Health, Sarah and I have really broadened Simply Health's scope of healthcare in a sense that we are using multiple modalities in order to support the body through, whether it's through detoxification, whether it's through vibration, whether it's through using brain detoxing. There's so many different things that we do, but we look at a person as a whole to decide what they need at the time they need it. So we did touch on a couple of those last week or a couple weeks ago. Today we have 3. We're going to try to keep them a little limited where you guys can answer questions later, but so that we also have time for the gut microbe as well. So Sarah, do you want to talk about the ISIS?
I'd love to.
Good.
The ISIS is really cool piece of technology that we actually brought into Simply Health last March and have found it absolutely phenomenal. So the ISIS is a microcurrent neurofeedback, and what that is we're taking little electrodes and kind of sticking it to different areas of the brain, and we're just bathing the brain in frequency. So the electrodes that we place on the head, the frequency of that is 1/100th of a AA battery. So I think it comes down to like 1 nano width of something, but it's a small passive frequency. And it's really important to detox our brain. We just haven't had the tools to know how to do that up until now. If we don't detox the brain, a lot of times it calcifies, becoming further challenges later on the road, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, that sort of thing. So if you think of, you know, we have our lymphatic system throughout our body. Well, the brain has something called the lymphatic system. And by bathing this, you know, subtle frequency over the brain, we're able to really detox the brain up to 9 pounds of metabolic neurotoxic waste per year, which is huge. And so it helps with conditions such as PTSD, anxiety, depression, insomnia, any brain traumas, concussions, TBIs. This is huge. It's actually in a $1.6 million government-funded study currently for our, you know, professionals coming back from overseas. So our vets coming back from overseas with significant PTSD, and they are having such success with it that they actually have this amazing study unfolding right now. And on the back burner of that is a study for Alzheimer's, which is huge. So it's you know, a medical doctor was actually quoted by saying it normalizes normal brain function. We're creating new neural pathways with the brain, boosting those really important hormones, norepinephrine, oxytocin, serotonin, all really important to balance the brain and our mood. Did I leave anything else out?
No, all I was going to say is it's much similar to like when your computer freezes. And when your computer freezes, we all get a little irritated by it. And the first thing all of us do is we push and hold the power button to literally shut the computer down and bring it back up. And that's what happens to our brain as well. So that's essentially what this microcurrent neurofeedback, also known as IASIS, is doing. And with that being said, I was going to add something else very important to that. Maybe I need to go do it.
You need a treatment.
Shutting the brain down. Anyway, it's
calming down the central nervous system, shifting someone from a very sympathetic fight or flight response, adrenaline, into a parasympathetic, where healing can really occur, very homeostasis, very zen. It allows people at nighttime to get down into the very, very, very important REM sleep. If we're not getting down into that REM sleep, we are not detoxing our brain, nor are we ever going to be able to really be fulfilled with optimal health.
And what I was going to say is that it's very different from clinical microcurrent neurofeedback and or biofeedback. So we're actually not training the brain to do anything. You get to sit there and talk to us, relax, deep breathe, close your eyes, whatever it means for you to just relax while we use the 6.5 minute therapy on you. So it's just it's very different from those other two feedbacks.
I have to add, my son started doing this, Christy, and anyone else who is listening to the recording, a few weeks or maybe a month or two ago. And we have seen a huge shift, and he has a sensory condition, which is way, way better, but there's some ADD, just like he's a very like squirrel, right? Like his brain is just, he's kind of all over the place, kind of like me. And he has calmed down so much. He even as a 10-year-old is like, I feel so calm when I have this done. It's amazing to see the difference. So if anyone has anxiety, I think you guys maybe have mentioned that, but like I think it really helped him with anxiety that he had as well.
Also to know, it's a cumulative in nature. So just like trauma or anything that builds upon itself, when you start to do these type of treatments, it is truly shifting from that sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state. And each time you do it, just builds on the last. So when we have clients that come in, maybe they're here part-time and they do, 5, 6, maybe 10 or 12 of them. When they come back 6 months later, they're we're basically starting with the very next session, because it just keeps getting deeper and deeper, which is great. So it's not by stopping it at any specific time doesn't mean that you're going backwards.
Yeah, it's even after your first session. So if someone came to see us this morning for the very first time, they had their first session, your brain health is never going to go back to where it was that morning, let's say. It's very accumulative, very progressive. So makes the ISS a really, really cool in nature, because a lot of times we recommend 10 to start, because depending on your health challenge, that might be adjusted a little bit. But typically people, they have such great success even after 5-10 sessions, that it's not something they have to do every week for the rest of their lives. It's something that they start with the initial 5 or 10 sessions, and then they come back to us for what we call a tune-up. So there might be something in life that kind of unnerves them, whether they lost their job, they're going through a divorce, that they might need to come back for what is known as kind of like a tune-up. But their brain health will never be where it was when we first started working with them.
It's really interesting. Really interesting.
And you can
So
actually
cool.
find out more information going to IASIS, which is IASISTech.com.
Okay.
And I'm putting all of this information in the chats box for anyone listening or who missed that information to connect with Sarah and Jen. The services are going over, as well as ISS Tech. So thank you.
May I ask a question? What about people that suffer from migraines? Would this have any help with people who suffer from migraines?
You want to take that one?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, we're like, which one's going to answer?
Who's going to go?
Yes, absolutely. And that's because what we're doing is we actually have, some of our clients actually have tumors that we are doing this with. It's completely non-invasive, but when you start to reorganize the brain, sometimes the brain just gets stuck in really a slow delta wave, which those synapses aren't working, which causes for whether it's inflammation or whether it's some other chemical mishap that's happening. And we have had significant results with headaches. Actually, we've had a couple of them literally right away.
Yeah. And even we have someone that we've been working with that has Bell's palsy, and she lost a lot of her kind of like feeling in her face, and it's drooped a little bit. And as we continue to work with them we typically don't do this until like session like 6 or 7, but we're kind of like able to move the electrodes to kind of like different areas. And she said to me a couple of weeks ago that her jaw is kind of tingling and starting to kind of fire and come back online,
Wow.
which is fairly significant. We've heard of like amazing things, like, and we always like to, set the expectations. It's not something that can cure you, but this surely can help as long as you're open and willing to receive. But the stories, have been really, really kind of gives you all those good, happy feels.
We like those.
Yes. And so we'll save questions for later, just so we can get through a couple of these therapies, and then get into the gut health so we don't run out of time. Is that okay with you, Jenny?
Sounds good.
Good.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so one of the other pieces is we have a salt and sound booth. In big cities, you'll typically find a salt room, which is where they have the pharmaceutical grade salt that you breathe in. Good for so many, literally everything that you think of from pulmonary up. So allergies, headaches, any kind of asthma, anything like that. And that is because all of those capillaries are, whether they're inflamed or they have viruses or organisms or allergies, whatever, that salt is getting into those very tight places, allowing for inflammation to be diminished and or organisms to be died off, because salt is actually super healing And
Antiviral, antibacterial,
Exactly.
antiparasitic, antifungal. It gets deep, deep, deep down into the lungs, pulling out mold and spores.
yeah,
You definitely get in it and you will just start draining.
yeah. And so we actually don't have a room. We have a booth, which is kind of fun, because the booth is so, I guess I would say it's
a little bit more concentrated.
Yeah.
You know, a room, if you're in a big room, it takes that much more for the generator to work and the salt to.
It's about a 45-minute to an hour treatment in a room, and in a salt booth, it's about a 15 to a 30-minute treatment. And it is through this pharmaceutical grade salt that's heated, ground, and then crushed, and then literally like you see it fly through the air as you breathe it in. And I would say that having been in the salt booth many times, it's very much as if you're in the ocean, except without water. So you dive under the waves, and you get a little bit of the salt water in your sinuses, and you feel like, oh my gosh, it just burns and it feels inflamed. And it's the same type of feeling that you do get. However, after a couple of hours, those symptoms subside, and the mucus will start coming, and you'll start being able to get that up. Breathing tends to be much better. So overall, it's overall health. Not to mention the skin aspect of it.
Say that.
You can go for skin.
Yeah, so that it's great for anybody.
And improved allergies.
Yeah. But great for anybody with any skin disorder. So eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, acne, because the skin is being deposited transdermally, and it will really, really help heal the skin.
So that's fun. And we just asked our clients to not shower for a couple of hours afterwards, just so that salt can stay on the skin and keep working. So it's not necessarily that it stops the second that they step out of the booth.
And then the last modality we'll touch upon that we have here at Simply Health is the Megan bed. Do you want to go with that one? Or you want me to take that one? Go ahead. Okay. So it's a physiotherapy bed, if you will. It uses infrared heat and jade light rollers, and it's great. It's, you lie down on it. Typically a session is anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. I know we talked about it prior with the ISS, but shifting someone from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic state, it's a really great, it's a quick therapy that people pop in for just to kind of decompress and take a step back from kind of their stressful life. But the infrared heat really helps aid in circulation, lymphatic detox, fabulous for arthritic patients, great for anybody with lack of circulation, because if there's no circulation, then healing can't really occur to that area of the body. But it was, it's to utilize, it's fantastic for anybody dealing with that circulation or detox lymph.
Yeah, and it really encompasses massage, chiropractic work, acupuncture, therapy, all in one, except for it's using those technologies not with any needles and not with any person. It's actually through the jade rollers that go up and down the spine. So we typically have people lay on this bed and take off their shoes as well as any belts, if they have a belt on. Make sure that they're comfortable, and then start the program. And the jade rollers start literally from the spine or the back of the neck, really, cervical spine, and go all the way down till about the sacrum. And then you've got rollers that go down both legs as well. And it's kind of a pulling sensation, but it's also very therapeutic. It stops at acupuncture sites where it releases energy. It does through the heat and the rollers, obviously that's more of the massage. And then because of the pulling, it can actually put the spine back in alignment. It is not to replace acupuncture. It is not to replace chiropractic adjustments. There are wonderful, amazing practitioners that do that. This is really just our easy, quick way to get our clients to really
relax and decompress.
Relax and get into that parasympathetic state for just a hot minute. Go ahead, Jenny.
I have to say my mom has a bum knee, so to speak. There was a torn meniscus, and she's had a lot of issues with her knee over the last couple of years. And when she uses the minion bed, immediately she tells me the pain in her knee goes away. Like, and she does all the different treatments out there, and she's like, this is the thing that makes the pain in my knee immediately go away. So it's very cool.
I think it's somewhere upwards of like 90% pain reduction is what they've kind of calculated by using this modality. Kind of breaking up a lot of that myofascial dysfunction, a lot of those tight junctures. And it just helps aid in breaking up a lot of dysfunction. Incredible. We hop on it all the time.
Yeah. When I can't find one of the employees or Sarah, I'm like, check the me gun room. It's where we tend to hide out if we need to hide out for a minute.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you guys.
So that kind of completes.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I mean, those are the like the main things. We have a lot of other little things, but those are kind of like the main ones.
Components.
So if you want to see all the services that they offer, you can go to simplyhealthjh.com/services. I have this on the chat box. And one of the things that I was asking Jen about is, okay, if we don't live in Jackson, what is available to people virtually? And then what is also like, how do they find a HOCAT or an IASIS? Like where do they go to find these resources in the areas that they live?
Sure. One of the best, I know it's so funny with two of us sitting here. Just don't want to talk over her and she doesn't want to talk over me. But one of the best, easiest ways is, first of all, just our website is being redeveloped right now, which we're extremely excited about. So if you get on there and it's a little confusing or it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, we're really sorry. And that is going to be switching over the next week or two. But moving forward with that, any kind of our big modalities, the HOCAT, the MeGun bed, the IASIS, the Asira, thermography, all of those, if you know if you take the specific name like HOCAT.com, you can actually go to their website and you can call their offices and ask for providers within your area or as close to your area as possible. I do believe that with a couple of our modalities such as the HOCAT, such as the IASIS, we have gone through specific training for those. And because of that, we are on the websites as practitioners. Thermography as well, the bioresonance technology as well. So it's not just necessarily people that just have them available. They're also going to be practitioners that you can trust and that you can rely on and you can ask questions. They're knowledgeable.
They're trained and qualified.
Yeah. So if you just go to the main websites, that's the best way. Sometimes if you just Google, HOCAT in Spokane, Washington, for instance, something might pop up and it might not.
But don't be shy to reach out to the company itself. A lot of times, like I know with the HOCAT and the IASIS that it's up and coming for some sort of company clinic directory. And I know that has been in the works. Whether it's been launched or not, I'm not sure. But if you call the direct line to the company, their customer service is fabulous and they'll be more than willing to help you.
Awesome. And then what about virtually? Like I know we talked briefly last time about the Asira, and if you didn't watch that, be sure to check it out. But what are you guys able to do virtually with clients? Is it just the Asira or is there anything else?
I mean, really it's going to be the Asira, and so we do remote scanning where we have clients around the world really send in hair and or saliva samples. And we can actually do the scanning in-house with those DNA samples and then create a protocol specifically for each individual. So really figuring out the protocol of supplementation and or whether it's dietary or whether it's, referring out some of the therapies that we have in a hometown where they might be, that's what we can do from the virtual, from afar. But we've had really quite a lot of success with that just by means of, not everybody needs to get on a therapy. Some people do and some people don't. And we can do a lot through whether it's imprinting, which is vibrational support, or whether sometimes we do patches that hold vibration. Sometimes we do quartz bracelets.
all
water,
sorts of different
yeah.
homeopathics.
Yeah.
But sometimes with certain health challenges, it's just as simple as, you know, just tweaking up their supplementations or just counseling them on what is a good supplement and what's not a good supplement. Like, you know, if they buy this, you know, vitamin D at Walgreens, well, like probably not the best. You know, we really pride ourselves in carrying good quality controlled supplements. And so maybe it's just as simple as changing up some of their supplements or adding in just an all-in-one inclusive, you know, minerals and vitamins really is the foundation of really good health. It's a great starting place. And so sometimes we have a lot of people that come in and that are from out of town and they say that they're going back to home and they're like, I don't want to lose you guys. And we can still work long distance with people, whether it's consultation or just shifting up the supplements or even doing the Athira.
Yeah, and I do believe that one of the most, and this is going to kind of push us into the next aspect of our talk, is one of the major things is, you know, I use this analogy of building a house, and we get so engrossed, we get so easily provoked into buying this and buying that, and oh, they said this is going to work for me or that's going to work for me. And I think of that as people really putting, designing accessories in their house, in a sense. So they're buying their couch, they're putting up, you know, pieces of art before their foundation is even completed, because they just they gravitate towards all these little things when really, if you build a home, you want to make sure your foundation is solid, because if it's not solid, you're going to be redoing your home in the next 10 to 15 years. But for the human body, if we can figure out what that foundational piece is, then we're setting our health up for long-term longevity and support. And so I really, really encourage my clients to take a step back. Sometimes you got to stop all the things you're doing. And sometimes you really need to go back to, you know, the inflammatory responses. You need to go back to what are you eating? You need to go back to how is your body eliminating? What is it eliminating, or what is it not eliminating?
Or if it is even eliminating.
Or if it's even eliminating. Yeah. Or if you've got these microbes that have literally taken over and created dysbiosis, which is essentially an unhealthy GI system. And I really, the more research I do, the more I am truly wholeheartedly believe that if we can heal the gut, we can really get to the root cause of so many things much more quickly. And so Sarah and I have really been diving into a gut restoration program that is really allowing us to look at each individual. And that is key, because everybody is individualized. Your story does not match the person next to you. So, you know, they might start on a type of a probiotic that works great for them. But what we're actually finding is 95% of probiotics don't even get to where they need to go. They're actually dead before they go through the acid barrier of the gut, which when I saw this report, a literally third-party tested, like lab insured research report,
it was kind of outstanding. It was really, yeah.
I was speechless for a hot minute. I couldn't believe it. And what we have found is, you know, you've got to have those high potency, stability driven, spore type probiotics. And there are a lot of them out there, and you've got to be careful with that too, because we have found that even with this report, they're not all equal. Jump in anytime.
Oh, I mean, you were on a roll. I mean,
I'm good.
Go.
I just
so what we've kind of really been really passionate about this because we've seen some amazing things happen in the last couple of months, and it's just restoring, rebalancing the gut health. A lot of times with, you know, leaky gut, those junctures, they're you know, holes develop and in the intestinal tract, and you have particles food escaping, and it actually gets right back into the bloodstream, and your body doesn't know the difference of like, oh my gosh, those are food particles versus viruses and bacteria. So we kind of have really been passionate about this gut health protocol, and it's very step by step, and it's really important because we're starting with different supplementation, and the end goal is to totally heal and transform the gut. So the three fundamental aspects of gut health include microbial population, physical structures, and regulatory immune function, which is really, really important to kind of like grasp your head around, because 80% of our immune system, or immune function, actually sits in our gut. And we're not eating the way we should be eating. We're exposed to all sorts of things, environmental toxicities. Oh my gosh, I could go on. Alcohol, vaccines, you name it. Everything that is like depleting and compromising and stressing. Food, yeah.
Yeah, and actually gastrointestinal research study just came out that anything that says it's gluten-free is actually laced with gluten, because now they don't have to report it unless it's a specific amount of gluten or not. So for those people that truly are gluten intolerant, they're still getting gluten in their diet, which means that their body can potentially combat a little bit of it, but most likely it's just depleting their immune system, which is going to set them up for even more vulnerability in the future. So one of the other things that we are finding is that if anybody has taken an antibiotic, now we're all going to raise our hands on this one, because if they say that if you took 1 week of an antibiotic in your teens, it starts that process of breaking down the mucosal lining and changing the dysbiosis, or changing the microbial imbalance of the GI system repetitively. So then you get, whether it's a sickness or anything else, that just keeps breaking it down. And so by the time you get into your 30s and your 40s, all of a sudden, you don't know why your microbial balance is so off, but it is. But then think about all those times that we do get thrown antibiotics for, whether it's a
strep throat, tonsillitis, they're just more, I think nowadays they're more apt to just, and of course there's a time and a place for antibiotics, but I think they're quick to be, here and scoot you out the door. But it really truly affects the good microbial health of the gut. And when you have dysfunctional microbial organisms, you're going to have dysfunction elsewhere in the body, whether it's mental, whether it's gut related. We are made up of bacteria.
Yeah, and it also really does even go down to the vaginal walls, which for us women, that is something that a lot of us deal with, but we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it because we don't want the person next to us or our friend to know that we're dealing with, whether it is itching, burning, inflammation, an odor that doesn't seem right, or
yeast overgrowth or viruses.
And so that really actually is stemming from the gut, and it is a low-grade infection. And when you go in for a yeast infection, they put you on antimicrobials. And so it's this cycle that just keeps going and going and going, and we've got to stop it somewhere. We have to, because if we don't, we are not going to be healthy when we get into our older ages. And if you think about going way back, sure, our grandparents had, antibiotics. They had a lot of stuff back then, but they weren't subjected to all the diet, the food, the environmental stresses, the EMFs, the toxicity of relationships, the stresses that we had. They were pulling food out of the garden, and when I was a kid, we didn't go in and wash it. My parents would literally blow it off, and I would eat a carrot that had dirt all over it, which was what we needed. It's the microspores of the probiotics that we need today.
And it's funny because as we've kind of dove into this gut restoration, they say just to Jen's point, they say it's really important, even with like your little ones and your toddlers, like don't be quick to wash off all the toys and wash the hands constantly. That exposure is really important, and it kind of sets the foundation, and their vulnerability and being susceptible to different things later in life, but kind of like allowing them to like literally eat dirt, play with dirt. You know, just don't be quick to wash their hands and all their toys off, because that's really, really important.
Yeah.
I'm feeling better about my 3 dogs, 2 cats, and 2 kids household right now.
Perfect.
They say that those with pets have better microbial diversity than those that don't, because they bring in to our household different microorganisms we're exposed to. So having pets is a good thing.
And having a non-sterile house is another really good thing.
You don't have to get out the bleach all the time.
Don't walk around swiping.
Yeah.
Right.
But what
oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so tell us, like, this is giving us painting such an amazing picture of where the dysfunction begins. Like for many, I mean, when my son was sick, he had 6 rounds of antibiotics in the first like 6 months of his life. It was insane, right? So like that started at it almost makes me cry right now, like such a young age. And for all of us at some young age, we probably experienced at least some antibiotics, and then we're eating these inflammatory foods and we're exposed to environmental toxins, all these things. It keeps building up. So we're seeing like this really important picture. And before we thought probiotics was the answer, but now we're getting this information that we only absorb maybe 95% of the probiotics in areas that we need to absorb. So what do we do? Give us an answer.
Yeah, right? I know we all want those answers.
It's like doomsday.
So there actually are answers, which is, I think, the most exciting piece of this is we're not like, okay, well, we could try this or we could try this. Really, it really boils down to what each individual has gone through. You know, have they had chronic infections? Have they been on a lifetime of antibiotics? Did they get this traveling? You know, is their liver not functioning properly? Are they not releasing specific bile per se? Or is it SIBO? Is it Crohn's? Is it colitis? What is it? That actually defines on where we even start with the program. So if you take someone that is fairly healthy, but just really needs a good gut restoration like program, it's 90 days. Easy, squeezy. It's 3 different products for these 3 months, and then you've got some maintenance involved. But 95% of the people aren't just that person walking in the door saying, hey, you know, I just want to restore my gut. I'm really healthy. It's typically those people that come to us and either have been diagnosed with some sort of a gut challenge or disease or whatever it is, and or someone that comes in and says, hey, I've had chronic urinary tract infections for my whole life. Can you help me? Or chronic yeast infections or chronic sinusitis. Whatever that might be, we're going to start them on a completely different program. Now, what we're actually doing is we're building up to the point where then they can go on the 3-month program. So we all end with the same 3 months, but sometimes it might be a 6-month program. It might be a 4-month program. It might be a year-long program. And that really depends how each individual person is.
And when you say program, you're referring to dependent on each person's unique condition. There are specific supplements, spores, specific protocol with these different supplements to take at certain times. And eventually we all end up, like you said, on that 90-day. Mm-hmm. This is like the final outcome that we're looking to receive, right? That's what the program is, different supplements.
So for instance,
how Jen started off and how I started off was completely different because we are both 2 different individuals with a different health history.
And I was like, oh, don't worry about me, like I always do. I can take it. I don't need to start out slow. Are you kidding me? I got this. Until I was like, yeah, what the heck is this program and what's happening to me right now? And this is not what I signed up for. So I called the company and I started we actually called, and these doctors, these scientists, these practitioners, they were so amazing. And they just started teaching us really about what's going on. And for me, I have a history of antibiotic use for actually a long, many, many years. And so when I started out with just, there's a product called Megaspore, which is a type of probiotic, which is kind of like, if you think about the military, it's all forces of the military. It's going in and it's going to war for you. Well, that's great, but going to war for me was not a good idea. I had to actually step way back, go on an even different protocol, because I had too much die-off happening so quickly that my system couldn't keep up with it. So I was bloated. I was even more constipated than I should have been. My candida kicked up even more because all these mycotoxins were being released, but then it was just feeding all the bad stuff that hadn't been killed off yet. So I had to literally take a step back. I'm on month 2 now of what I thought was going to, well, actually I'm on month 3 of what I thought was going to be a 3-month program, but now I haven't even started the true 3-month program yet. And so, you have to look at this about like restoring the gut is not just about like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever.
It's a commitment.
It's a commitment.
Yeah. But I think at this, a lot of our clients that we see, they come to us and they're kind of not at their wits' end, but they are definitely frustrated. And so we are very fortunate to work with a lot of people who are like, hey, I am committed. I want to get my health back on track. And so we're very fortunate, I think, to deal with a lot of people who are committed. The spore-based probiotic that Jen was talking about is it's really cool. I was listening to this webinar last week, and it has the ability to go into the system, and it is attracted to bad bacteria, and it sits by it until it neutralizes it, and then it goes over to the good bacteria and is like its cheerleader as it kind of repopulates. It's a really unique spore-based probiotic, but it has the ability in just 30 days to decrease leaky gut by 60%.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool.
And
so tell us.
I was just going to say, that's if their system is able to take on that Megaspore at that time. And if not, we have to go back to one called Restore Flora, because we're actually restoring the flora before we go in and take over. So that's kind of what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is this very unique protocol, individualized for each person. And how do we figure out what these protocols are is through, they can collaborate with you virtually through the Asaira to understand what's going on if they don't already know what's going on in their body, and then come up with this specific protocol using this company. And then the company name is MicroBiome.
That's correct. Yep. MicroBiome.
And I'm writing that in the chat section too. So, and it's not to say that Jen and Sarah are the only ones that can do this. There's other people, Asaira practitioners, like we talked about in the first round, but it's nice to know that you guys are able to do that virtually if that's something that someone wants to look into. I know I have myself and my son on this protocol right now. We're actually coming to see Jen in about an hour to see where talk is. So,
and some of our clients here, you don't have to do the Asaira. So the Asaira is definitely the remote scan if you want to look at the big picture of everything. For other clients,
sometimes they already know. They come to you and you're like, I'm bloated, I'm constipated, brain fog, I can't sleep. So just even kind of a quick conversation, you can kind of capture, and just having a conversation with them, you can capture their health history.
And what this is going to look like, you can kind of quickly give them a time frame. This is going to be 6 months, and we have the ability, based on knowing what they're going to need, how much they're going to need, about the cost of it too, long term. Now, it doesn't have to be. We have people set up that we just automatically send their next month out, because we've already created that protocol for them. So we're sending their next month out on a kind of an automatic shipment, where they don't have to think about it. They just know that their next month, their next protocol is coming to them. So it does not have to go through, again, I just want to make sure everybody knows that you don't have to pay the remote scans. The remote scans are $125, the hair samples. But you know, Jenny might have you feeling great on her programs that we don't necessarily need to dive into all of that because you're already supported extremely well. And it might just be then taking just that next step, which is healing the gut, because you cut out the inflammatory foods, you cut out the extracurricular activities of whatever those might be. You know, you are sleeping better, you've got the emotional aspect, and the emotional aspect is a huge piece to this puzzle too. But 90% of people don't want to deal with that, or they don't think they have a problem with that. So it's not that we necessarily will go into that, but we will definitely take that into account when we ask questions about how you are, how, you know, all of that. So, you know, the big questionnaire comes and then we kind of move from there.
That's amazing. Thank you for clarifying. Let's take this next 10 minutes, and if Jen and Sarah, unless you have anything else you'd like to add, I'd love to give Christy and Virginia an opportunity to ask any questions they may have. Miss Virginia, do you have anything? I'm going to unmute you if I can. Virginia's the queen of asking amazing questions. Hi.
I know, I feel badly. I missed the beginning. My dentist appointment went a little long. So I will go back and listen. But I have started some of the gut protocol and feeling good. I had a little bit of, you know, loose stool the first like day or two, but after that I've felt good, and I've been adding more fruits in. It was weird. I tried to add cucumbers in and that did not work. So I've still got some places to go, but I feel good. So I definitely am interested in going back and listening about the scans and the other stuff you guys are working with, but I don't really think I have any questions for right now.
You're on my list to call, Virginia. So
okay, yeah, because I started this Saturday will be 2 weeks,
right?
And I think we had said we were going to touch base about 3 weeks. So I was
Yep.
thinking about sometime later in next week. Yeah. So thank you guys, and
you're welcome.
Yeah,
everything.
happy to help.
Thanks for having on, Virginia.
Bye.
Bye. Christy, any questions on your end?
I just wish I lived in Wyoming, I think, because I want to do most of these things.
Come visit.
So lucky. Well, and my parents live not too far away. Well, they're about 3 hours away from you guys. So I'm trying to think, so can I come stay for a month and then just drive to Jackson Hole to get?
You know, we actually have clients that come.
Treat it up.
We have clients that come and work with us pretty intensely for a week. And even after a week, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And because, you know, we talked briefly last week, which you guys can go back and listen to the webinar, but the biocharger, it's so significant on actually recharging those cells, getting those cells back to working efficiently. So, you know, that's why we have just so many therapies that we mix and match. And you know, maybe somebody is dealing with streptococcus, for instance. You know, we have the Rife machine, we have the biocharger, and then you add potentially this gut restoration with some HU58 to go in and actually mitigate that specific strain of strep. And strep, if you're not familiar with that, it can either be strep throats or it can actually be urinary tract infections. And it can be other things too. And so, you know, utilizing everything we have in even just a week's time has been very beneficial.
We've definitely made some headway with some people in particular, and they've only been able to be with us for a week, but again, they were committed, they were devoted, and I think that really plays a really, really important piece. But we have kind of really made some progress with them just in as little time as a week.
Yeah, and I mean, we are a very unique wellness center. I will say that, and we've done that on purpose, in a sense that we are trying to provide a very well-rounded aspect of healing without doing a whole lot of traditional. You see a lot of the traditional places where they have, only one thing or only another thing, but this, we really are really proud that we have so many things for everybody as to what they need.
It's amazing.
No, I'm just jealous.
Thank you so much, Sarah and Jen.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Christy, maybe we'll have to have a retreat out here. I keep
Yeah,
playing
no,
with
that's
the idea.
exactly. There you
but
go. That's a great idea.
It would be
Beautiful
really
idea, Jenny.
fun. We'll just book Simply Health for
Yeah.
a few days. Awesome.
So.
Well, Sarah and Jen, thank you so much. You guys, if you want to talk to Sarah or Jen, the phone number I put on the chats, it's 307-732-0540, or like they said last time, even better, email them at info@simplyhealthjh.com. And I have to say that Sarah and Jen like are those people who don't hide behind the desk. Like they're out there talking to people, super knowledgeable. You want to call and ask about a supplement, you get like a wealth of information that you weren't anticipating. So it's very cool. So thank you guys for everything you do. And Christy and Virginia, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
all of you listening to the recording. Thank you. Feel free to post any questions in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a great day.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too. Bye-bye.